You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside former England fast bowler Steve Harmison. And if you've missed any of the show or you wish to catch up, you can download the podcast from the Following On feed, available from all good podcast providers. Right, we've heard the Australian perspective from Jason Gillespie. Let's get the South African perspective. Lots and lots of questions for great fast bowler Allan Donald. Um, Al, before we get into the nitty gritty, your overall thoughts about the World Test Championship for all of its imperfections, and it is far from a perfect tournament. Are you in favour? Are you excited?
Love it. I love it. I think it's a great reward for a hard slog at the end of the year. I know when you talk about imperfections, about how much cricket South Africa has played versus England versus Australia. But I think nonetheless, it's a great reward to be playing a final at a venue that I think that puts any other venue on a different scale. To be playing at Lords, just the history of it, to have one shot at it for 5 days or for 4 days is a it's just an amazing stage, and I think that I know South Africa here in South Africa, it's buzzing. It's really buzzing. It's buzzing amongst many sportsmen, sportsmen and women. And yeah, we all can't wait. But I mean, it's going to be a great spectacle. And yeah, it's a proud moment for all the players involved.
Alan, you did talk about the inexperience that South Africa have over probably what Australia have. They're probably the favourites going into it. But is that going to work in South Africans' favour? Because when you
Yeah,
look at the experience in England, there's quite a lot of them South Africans who have played a lot of county cricket.
yeah, it's true, homie. I think it's not like a series. You're going into a series. You've got to get it spot on. That's the thing here. That's what gets South Africa in it, because on day one, if you have a shocker, and you're not batted well or not bowled well, you could find yourself really chasing the game. Um, but as you said, Rickleton's had a taste of county cricket. Uh, Mulder has played for Leicester. Rabada's played a bit. Um,
Getting
yeah, well, yeah, Bedingham has played there, and of course, the other fast bowler that I've got there, and I'm keep missing, is of course
Patterson.
Patterson. Patterson is really probably the most experienced out of all of them, and will know what it's like bowling at Lords, what lengths to find. He's an enigma, I reckon, because he's fancied by the coach. He knows him. He's not great pace, but boy, does he test your defense. He's a bit of a Vernon Philander. Doesn't miss that area often. But yeah, and then Janssen does what Janssen does. So it's going to be interesting because it opens up. I know South Africa have like to go with Rabada, Janssen, Patterson, and Mulder as those two all rounders, Janssen, Mulder. So but you feel a bit. I don't know. You know as well as I do, Harmy. Gladstone Small used to tell me in my first month in county cricket, never look down, look up.
Yeah, yeah.
That old saying. And overhead conditions is going to be absolutely crucial. So if it's a sunny day, we all know you're in for a long one. But if it's
Yeah.
overhead, you've got quality on both sides, you can exploit that. That's going to be so hard for batters if that's the case.
Yeah, I can remember. I was supposed to make my debut at Lords. Selectors told me I was playing at 9:30. And then at 10:15, there was a big cloud come over. Nasser said, "You're not playing. Ed Giddens is going to swing it. He's making it. He's going to play instead of you." So I had to wait 2 years for my debut. So yes, it is overhead when it comes to. Look, they had a preparation. I don't know if you've seen much of it down in Arundel. There was a bit of rain around. How do you think South Africa have prepared going into what is? I mean, like you say, it's massive in South Africa, but I think it's
Yeah.
be a big statement for world cricket if South Africa go and win this World Test Championship.
Yeah, I mean, two things. One, we were all concerned. I mean, our domestic season only finished just a few weeks ago, and Bavuma haven't played. He wanted to play a game in Bloemfontein for us against the Knights, and then it rained for 4 days, and then he hurt his elbow. Wanted to play in the final at the Wanderers. He couldn't play then. So what's it like? What's Steve Smith like? I mean, he hasn't touched a bat apparently for 3 months. He's just put a bat away, and I saw a clip of him yesterday in the nets, and he was tonking it like it was yesterday. Incredible. But yeah, I just think that, all the prep is done now. They've had a good little run out now against Zimbabwe at Arundel. People spend some time on their feet, so that's all good. I just think the occasion just brings the best out of these two squads. If you're not ready for this, you will never be ready. But yeah, let's not beat around the bush. Australia are the favourites here. There's no question about it. They have just got quality all over the park. But as I say, it's a once-off scrap, and whoever gets there knows away day 1, 1.5, 2. It's going to be hard to catch. But if South Africa win this, it'll mean so much for Test cricket in this country, because we don't at domestic level play enough of 4-day cricket. We've played one set, 7 games plus a final. There's no home and away. It's just I'm a bit concerned about that, because we need to play more. But in terms of what lies ahead for South Africa is something incredibly special.
We're not going to talk about domestic cricket because we'll head down a dangerous rabbit hole. But yeah, there isn't enough, and it's not just in South Africa. But you mentioned the sense of occasion, and I wanted to just dwell on that a little bit. You had 5 or 6 years of county cricket before South Africa played their first test at Lord's, and of course you were on the honours board, and you were there again 4 years later. So you're on it twice, 94 and 98. A couple of South African squads after that were overwhelmed by Lord's, and remember particularly 2008, Dale Steyn and Morne Morkel played there for the first time, and they only arrived in London 2 days before the test. And that first morning when they bowled was overwhelming. A packed house, sunny day at Lord's, and 8 of the South African squad have never played at Lord's. So you ought to be there, really, to put your arm around their shoulders and tell them to kind of, I don't know, soak up the occasion and ignore it at the same time. What would you tell them?
Well, I mean, they've got Stuart Broad there, who's been advising them, so I can't see of anyone better and more neutral to advise the South African team to stay calm. You look at the two teams, and I've always, when you walk through the gates at Lord's, there's something that riles opposition when they play against England. They really do. Now you've got 2 Southern Hemisphere teams that will be even more riled. So it can send you over the edge a little bit. But I think, look, I just think that once they step over those ropes, it's now time to go do your job. It's a cricket ground. Yes, it's full of history. It's full of amazing things. Those dressing rooms tell you so many stories about who's come before you. And it's whether you're in the home dressing room or the away dressing room, it is just amazingly special. The only problem there is to find a seat on the balcony. Otherwise you're peeping through the windows all day to watch the game. But I think they'll be fine. I think Shukri Conrad's done a very good job. Shukri spent some time with Rassie Erasmus and at the Springboks alignment camp, and I think he walked away there with some really good stuff from a cultural point of view that Shukri is going to use now. Whether that's going to help or not, your actions will lie on the field and how you execute. So. But I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be absolutely fine. Once they get over those ropes and they get it on the first hour, you're into it and off you go.
Yeah, you mentioned that that balcony at Lord's, the amount of backroom staff teams have now. I mean, you can't even get your top 3 on there. Never mind, even your medical team can't get on there. So it is a wonderful place. Lunches and everything that goes with Lord's, and it comes down to moments. You mentioned AD about, I think, who wins the first day has got a great chance of winning it. It might come down to moments of brilliance. And yes, Australia have got a bowling attack that sort of gone through this generation. But South Africa, for me, have got probably the most exciting bowler in world cricket other than Bumrah. And that is KG Rabada. And if he gets it right, is he key to South Africa's chances of winning this?
100%. And I think he'll be more riled now than ever before. I saw some bowling of him at Arundel. He looks an angry man. He looks motivated, and put an Australian team in front of him, he gets riled even more. So I think, forget about the news that he's been involved in. I think that will just give him an extra edge. So yeah, and he's got quality around him. He has got quality around him, and whether Bosch plays, I don't know. He's got a bit more. He's in the 140s, high 140s, 90 miles an hour. So, but KG for me, this will give him so much fire in the belly for the next few days. I think watching him at practice yesterday when Graham Smith was there talking to the batting group, he seems very relaxed, but he seems like in a good place for me, KG. He looks very motivated. But yeah, there's a lot on him, but he'll step up.
What about your coaching career, Al? I mean, I was looking back, including short-term consultancy roles. I reckon you've worked for 5 international teams, including England, Bangladesh, New Zealand, South Africa. I think it was 5 international teams. You're now at the Lions in South Africa. Do you think you'll miss international cricket coaching wise? I mean, are you looking to get back on the international platform?
Yeah, it was a interesting time. I'll put it interesting time with Bangladesh. But you've always had a front row seat in so many amazing dressing rooms, and I spent 74 days with Australia in Sri Lanka when they toured there, and I experienced that culture. And you spend so much time there, and you talk to guys, and you see how deep their cricket culture is, and how ruthless they are, and how they back themselves. And I played against that 90s team that steamrolled the rest of the world, and that England beat in 2005. I think, Harmy, you guys were amazing in that Ashes series. That was probably some of the hardest cricket I've seen being played against an unbelievable Australian team. But yeah, look, Australia, being in an international team and traveling across the world, and it's brutal, it's hard. So when I got the call from Russell Domingo to see if I was keen to work with the Lions, and with Hashim and Jonty Rose is on board now as well. So it's really a cool backroom staff to work with, and but for now I'll just see where it takes me.
And I'll just about a quick one on your playing days. You obviously phenomenal international record when you played for South Africa, but you enjoyed some success in England playing county cricket. A few weeks ago, we did on another show for talkSPORT, a show called After the Lights Go Out. It's a mental health show. We had Dermot Reeve on, who has fallen on struggling times. That is an understatement. But he talked about that Warwickshire and great times that Warwickshire had. He was a wonderful leader. How did you enjoy your time playing at Warwickshire? Because there was a very, very successful team. You mentioned Gladstone Small just a short while ago. I mean, the happiest man in the world still is Gladstone Small. He gets where the sunshine doesn't. There's Gladdy on cricketing tours. But that must have been a great dressing room. And is that a time in your life you look back and think, yeah, I enjoy coaching, but this was a great time to play cricket?
Oh, there's no doubt, Harmy. I think as times changed, and when Andy Lloyd eventually retired, Tim Munton came in, and then all of a sudden, Bob Woolmer took over. And when Bob took over, everything became a different ballgame completely. Phil Neal was before him, and then Bob came after him. But when Derm took over, Derm was just, I reckon he's one of the 2 captains I've played under, the best captains tactically and strategically that I've played under, hands down. He just had an unbelievable feel for the game, and how to develop a culture. And that's the first time we ever spoke about developing a really good environment. Creating our identity better, restructuring our identity better. And then Nick Knight came on board. Those two gelled immensely well. And then just the guys we had. It was just a bunch of guys who enjoyed each other, really enjoyed each other. And I think our thinking about one-day cricket, our thinking about the red ball game changed in terms of our mindset. I mean, who's ever had a winter off where you had sweeping camps, like reverse sweep and slog sweep? And that's where Dermot went. He said, we got to change the landscape against spin, not necessarily downtown, but we're going to have to maneuver the ball different ways. And that changed everything for us in in the white ball game. But yeah, I wasn't part of the '94 team that won the treble, but I was lucky enough to have come back the next day after being told that I won't be needed after '95 because a certain Brian Charles Lara smacked attacks all over the place, and we'll go with that batter. What a world-class player he was, but. Yeah, and then '99 we won the double and missed out on the treble by a whisker on the very last day of the season. So yeah, it was great times, and yeah, I have great respect for Dermot. I know he's been through a very, very bad patch and back, so but what a great one-day cricketer, and what a great cricketing brain.
Al, I'm not going to be daft enough to ask you for a prediction in a one-off test match. But just a couple of key areas. Where do you think the game could be won by South Africa? I think it's obvious where, Steve Smith or Travis Head makes 150 and Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood. We know how Australia can win the game. But Rabada, obviously. And where else might South Africa pinch it?
Well, for me, and I've been watching this guy Sam Constas, or we watched the first little bit against India when he played, and it was unbelievable. But I just think the mindset of Australia, what they're going to do. You've got Khawaja, Constas, Labuschagne, Smith, Head, Green. Wow, I don't think Josh Inglis will play. Alex Carey is the preferred keeper there. But I just think Australia will fight fire with fire. I think they'll come and try and upset the likes of Rabada, try and get him off his length, play that expansive, aggressive game. I'm not sure. But once again, you don't look down, you look up. And if it's anywhere near overhead conditions, South Africa will pounce. But I just think it's absolutely 50-50. I really do. It's day one for me. Whoever gets on the front foot on day one, and if it's great bowling or batting conditions, I think if it's great batting conditions, I think Australia will really try and exploit this attack of South Africa. But it's not going to be just freewheeling. It's not. It's going to be so. You're going to have to earn the right to be on the front foot. It's so difficult because it's a like I said before, man. It's not like a series. It's a once-off. What I will say is against Australia, they are ruthless. They play this expansive brand. If you have a sniff against Australia to pounce, you've got to pounce, and you've got to make it count once. You've got to. It's not often you get that chance. Australia, and when I spent in a dressing room, they always talk about getting on the front foot and do it early and stay there all the time. So I think nothing will change for me. But both teams under a game. It's difficult to predict. Yes, Australia favourites, but ask me on day 3, maybe.
I'll just finally from me. There's another big series coming up in England, leading into the Ashes. England against India. Are you over in England? I can't imagine you will stay in South Africa for the whole winter. Like Manners is getting over to England. What do you make of that series, and how do you think that one will go?
I'm so looking forward to that. I'll be over end of June, beginning of July. There's obviously that small matter of the WCL taking place at Edgbaston as well. So some of the old dogs will give it a go.
There's no shirts big enough for me, unfortunately.
I tell you what, you look skinny behind that table, though.
I tell you what, you haven't seen me from the waist. You're missing the biggest bit.
Well, listen, I think it's going to be a fascinating series between India and England, and the brand that I know it's been discussed, and a few things that England have addressed that they need to get better at. So I can't wait for that to happen. I think it's one of the biggest outside of the Ashes, England versus India. It doesn't matter whether it's in India and England, but England especially, it's going to be an awesome summer. Some awesome cricketers on stage. That's also a difficult one to predict. But the way England have taken Test cricket on, and their mindset with the red ball, that's going to be exciting against a very, very good Indian bowling attack. So yeah, I can't wait to be there for that.
Allan Donald, thank you so much for your time, and I will see you in the Green Man in Harborne.
Fantastic! I look forward to it.
That's former South African great Allan Donald. You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside former #1 bowler in the world, Steve Harmison. Next up, we'll round up some of the week's other big stories as Rob Walter succeeds Gary Stead as New Zealand head coach. And of course, we'll bring you the final word.